Hello everybody, and welcome to another Gun Workshop video. Today, I'll be presenting count 'em, two great builds for all you Ruskies out there. That's right, today we'll be covering the Dragunov Sniper Rifle. This weapon, developed in the USSR, is very much if you like AK but enemy is very far away. This Russian precision rifle fires the familiar 7.62 54mm round from a base 10-round magazine at a relatively quick rate of fire of 174 rounds per minute. This weapon has some pretty low damage profiles depending on where you hit your enemy, but regardless, at the closest damage range, the most you'll ever need to do is hit your enemy twice anywhere in the body. At longer ranges, however, you'll need to land a headshot in order to get those one-shot kills. Speaking of ranges, the base range for this Tundra Terror is about 60 meters or so, meaning that in standard multiplayer, range is basically never an issue. This weapon has basically completely vertical recoil properties, so I wouldn't worry about recoil stabilization at all. One last note on this weapon before we get into our usual routine. Unlike every other sniper rifle in the game, and even the Kar 98 and the SPR 208, the Dragunov is incapable of getting a one-shot headshot kill to a fully armored opponent in Warzone. In fact, an enemy with 2 armor plates won't even be taken down by a lone headshot. For this reason alone, I would definitely avoid this gun for Warzone usage. Enough of the basic stuff, however. Let's get right into how and why you should run this frozen fiend. For my typically closer range build of the Dragunov, I've built the Revolution. The Revolution starts off in the muzzle section with the compensator to cut down on this weapon's vertical recoil. Next up, the 510mm compact barrel makes an appearance to increase our movement speed and handling at the cost of recoil control and range. The VLK 3x optic is next used to cut down on vertical recoil a little bit, while also improving ADS speed and removing our scope glint. The FTAC Stalker Scout stock improves our ADS speed at the cost of stability, and sleight of hand rounds this build off for those quicker reloads when you need them. The Revolution was the build I was using to fully level up this gun, as my friends aren't too into ground war and I had to basically struggle with it on standard 6v6 multiplayer maps. Out of all the snipers for 6v6, however, the Dragunov is actually not that bad. It's capable of getting a one-shot kill compared with the easily manageable recoil, and the relatively fast rate of fire makes it a decent choice for these modes, although the SKS is just better in this regard in almost every way. The Revolution takes these close-quarter fights into account, but heavily increases handling with the compact barrel, the Stalker Scout stock, and the VLK optic. All of these attachments either improve movement speed or ADS speed, or both. The compensator, recently one of my favorite attachments, does its best to hold back some of the increased recoil from the short barrel, and it does a decent job at it. Sleight of hand could easily be swapped out for something else like a tack laser or the focus perk, but I avoided the tack laser just to keep this weapon as a visibly stealthy sniping option. No scope glint or visible laser here. The Revolution variant is surprisingly effective in standard multiplayer, does an adequate job at mid-range in ground war, and as I mentioned before, this weapon should never be used for Warzone. If you're looking to stretch out the range of the Dragunov and looking to get rid of that pesky bullet drop at ranges, then my Sandstorm build is right up your alley. Again, we start off with the compensator to cut down on our vertical recoil. Moving on to the barrel section, I've used the 606mm extended barrel to boost our damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control, all at the expense of mobility. The FTAC Stalker Scout stock makes an appearance yet again to increase our ADS speed. Next, I use the focus perk to allow us to stay on target even while taking fire, and I round the build off with the 15-round mags for increased ammo capacity. The Sandstorm is probably the best overall build for the Dragunov. While the Revolution was good in standard multiplayer, the Sandstorm is far too slow to use effectively in those smaller maps. The extended barrel really cuts down on both our movement speed and ADS speed. The base sight is going to ADS far slower than the VLK sight from before, so that needs to be kept in mind as well. The stock on this build works to mitigate those downsides, but it can only do so much. The compensator combined with the extended barrel gives this build a very low recoil climb and makes it very easy to get those follow-up shots or for killing multiple enemies. I chose the 15-round mag since this build is primarily for ground war and more enemies to shoot means more ammo is needed. Focus felt like a good choice for this mode as well, since you can get shot from more directions, it won't throw your aim super far off while having this perk equipped. This build could work in standard multiplayer. Admittedly, I haven't tried it there, but this build is definitely a great choice for ground war. The Dragunov is one of those weapons you see in most modern military shooters that no one ever uses. I'm not sure about this weapon's popularity or usability in real life, but if it's anything like the AK-47, then this weapon is built to be tough and reliable. However, in the realm of gaming, this weapon is typically just terrible. It's always there, but never used. If people are going to snipe, they'll typically use a bolt-action rifle. If people are going to be fighting at mid-range with a DMR, then they'll use a DMR. The Dragunov is just too weak to be a proper sniper and too slow to be a DMR. It's somewhere in the middle. That being said, Modern Warfare's version of the Dragunov isn't actually terrible. The base version is admittedly trash, but these builds show off some of the strengths this weapon possesses. The Revolution focuses on the weapon's relatively quick nature while still retaining its killing potential. The Sandstorm severely reduces recoil to the point where this weapon can be effectively spammed at range. Both of these builds have their place in Modern Warfare's firefights, but neither one is suited for Warzone. If you're going to snipe in Warzone, then be effective and smart and use any bolt-action weapon, whether that be the HDR, the AX-50, the Kar-98, or the SPR-208. All of these are capable of a one-shot headshot, while the Dragunov simply is not. For the other two modes, though, this weapon could honestly be a lot of fun, and I wouldn't overlook it simply because of its bad reputation and muddied past from other games. This weapon is functionable and reasonably powerful in these modes. And that'll do it for my coverage of the Dragunov. What do you guys think of this weapon? Are these builds any good? Let me know in the comments down below. You've all been awesome. I've been your host, Doodleman149. I look forward to seeing you all again, and I will see you later.